Welcome to WatchNut TV and another edition of What's in the Box. Before I get too far along with this one, I want to thank my friends here locally at Jack Ryan Fine Jewelry and Watches, who are Bremont dealers, and loaned me this piece so I could do this review, which I've been wanting to do for a long time. Bremont's an interesting company. It was formed in 2002 by Nick and Giles English in Great Britain. They are aviation enthusiasts, and their watch line reflects their aviation interests. They didn't actually, from 2002, they didn't produce a show piece until 2007, and didn't produce a real first release watch until 2009. So their attention to design and detail obviously took them some time to execute, but I think they've done a very fine job, and hopefully you'll agree as we go along here. So let's see what's in the box. First thing you notice is the box, not a typical rectangular pillow presentation box. It's a nicely thought out ensemble that is packaged more in something that looks like a good quality leather travel case than a watch box. They package their watches in most cases with an extra Velcro dive strap, which is a very well made strap. They also include a nice quality bracelet strap changing tool, which is, I think, nice of them to put in. And of course the usual documentation. I will give them credit for a very well written technical instruction manual, along with the usual warranty certificate and warranty locations and chronometer certificate and so forth. So let's take a look at the watch itself here and see what we have. The first thing you notice when you begin to look at these watches is the style of their cases. I think they're probably the most distinctive. They have what they call a trip lock case, which features a steel exterior surface case with the lugs and the bezel housing and so forth. Then they use a secondary kind of a cap, I guess, if you want to call it, as an inner case, or you can see here the green section. In this particular case, it's aluminum. It allows them to do some neat things. They can do aluminum, they've done titanium, they can do polymers and some other stuff to provide a unique look to the watch. And then that's all sandwiched together by a screw down back that holds the assembly into one piece. Interesting thing about the steel on their watches, they use a 316 steel, which they actually harden to 2000 Vickers. 2000 Vickers is close to the hardness of sapphire material, and is comparatively very hard and scratch resistant for a wristwatch. I mean, as an example, Rolex uses 904L. It's treated to 490 Vickers, and the SIN tegmented submarine steel only weighs in at about 1200 Vickers. So it's, although no watch case is completely scratch proof, this one's going to be substantially harder to put any significant dings in than most anything else I can find on the market. The crystal has 9 layers of AR coating on either side. They use, again, given their aerospace background, the kind of hardened coating that is common in mil-spec applications, so it's not an easy thing to scratch your way through. This particular watch is referred to as, their model number is the MB2, which is an abbreviation for Martin Baker Aerospace, who actually designed. Martin Baker Aerospace makes ejection seats, by the way, for probably 70% of the world's military pilots. But they designed for Bremont a inner kind of a rubberized plastic movement holder, which is very shock absorbent. And this particular watch, which is named after Martin Baker, is said to withstand the G-forces of pulling the lever on an ejection seat, which, if memory serves, is about 30 Gs, so it's a pretty substantial amount of force that's applied to anything if you're unfortunate enough to have to pull one of those levers. This watch is a day-date movement, which you can see. It is based on the ETA 2836 movement, which Bremont calls the BE36AE. Very well-tested movement to which Bremont, as I mentioned earlier, tools up to chronometer specs. And this particular watch I like for one of the reasons is its internal timing bezel, or internal timing rehaut. You can see the lower crown controls the setting of the rehaut in either direction, so it can be set to correspond to any particular relationship to the minute hand. A nice aviation feature. The one thing I can't show you, but I can tell you, is the rehaut setting mechanism is actually ball bearing race detented, and you can't hear it, I don't believe, but there's a real nice, simple, easy, and positive click to its use. The pointer on the rehaut just snaps real cleanly and evenly into each one of the minute markers on the index. I think it's a great watch. I mean, it's a 43 millimeter case. The lug width is 22 millimeters. They make it with a very nice stainless steel bracelet that's kind of similar to the Omega Speedmaster design 3-section bracelet, which I think is beautiful. If I had one to show you, I would. This one comes with a leather band and a signed, nicely made tang buckle. This watch falls into the $5,000 give or take category, which is probably a good competitive price point for it. I think it has a lot of technology that's been incorporated into it for that money. Let me see if I can show you the back features. If any of you have ever been around a fighter plane cockpit, the Martin Baker logo is probably very familiar to you, whether you've had to use it or not, but it is engraved into the case back. And all in all, a great watch. If you've never taken a close look at Bremont watches, I would strongly urge you to do so. This is one of those I think is going to go on my personal list of things to collect as soon as I can afford one. So, and before I finish, I want to point out one thing. This particular model I mentioned is called the MB2. There is also a version of it called the MB1. And the MB1 is distinguished by a red aluminum intercase housing. If you ever happen to see a person wearing one with a red intercase housing, shake their hands and thank them for their service. It means that guy or gal has actually had to pull the lever on a Martin Baker ejection seat and rocket themselves out of the cockpit of a go-fast airplane. So gotta love those guys and gals. It's a tough business to be in. So anyway, I hope you found it interesting. I'm really a big fan of the watch, and if you're around the Austin area locally, I'd urge you to go visit Jack Ryan Jewelers and take a look at one, and I'll put their contact information up here at the end of the presentation. Thank you very much.